The day my app reached $200 million in revenue should have been the happiest day of my life. Instead, I was clearing out my desk security, watching my every move. 5 years of sweat and sacrifice gone in an instant. What they never realized was that deep in the code I had built a failsafe, a digital kill switch that would freeze everything with one click. As I walked out those glass doors for the last time, I smiled. Before I continue, let me know where you're watching from. Hit that subscribe button and join me for what happened next. I grew up in a middle-class family in Seattle where my dad worked as an accountant and my mom taught elementary school. Nothing extraordinary, just honest, hardworking people who taught me the value of persistence. Computers fascinated me from the moment my parents brought home our first PC when I was 12. While other kids played video games, I wanted to know how they were made. I started teaching myself coding through online tutorials, and by the time I graduated high school, I had already built several simple applications. College was a natural progression. Computer science at the University of Washington. I excelled academically but found the structured environment limiting. The real education happened late at night in my dorm room where I experimented with projects that professors would call impractical or too ambitious. I graduated with honors, but more importantly with a deeper understanding of software architecture than most of my peers. The corporate world awaited, and I dutifully took a position at a large tech company. Good salary, decent benefits, soul-crushing monotony. Days blended into weeks, then months of working on tiny fragments of massive projects. I never saw the complete picture, never felt the satisfaction of building something from concept to completion. 3 years of my life disappeared into that fluorescent-lit limbo. The idea for LogiConnect came to me during a particularly brutal Seattle traffic jam. I sat in my car for 2 hours, watching delivery trucks inching along beside me, thinking about the massive inefficiency of it all. What if an application could predict traffic patterns, weather delays, and supply chain disruptions before they happened? What if it could dynamically reroute deliveries in real time, saving companies millions while reducing emissions? That night, I stayed up until dawn sketching out the concept. For the next 2 weeks, I spent every evening refining the idea, calculating potential algorithms, researching existing solutions. Nothing on the market came close to what I envisioned. This could revolutionize logistics entirely. When I told my parents I was quitting my stable job to pursue this startup dream, they thought I had lost my mind. "Joseph, be reasonable," my father urged. "Build it on the side first. Test the market." Sensible advice that I completely ignored. 2 weeks later, I submitted my resignation and cashed out my modest savings. My apartment became my office, a one-bedroom in South Lake Union that quickly transformed into a nest of whiteboards, sticky notes, and empty coffee cups. I lived on ramen noodles and determination coding 16 hours daily. The first prototype failed spectacularly. So did the second and third. The prediction algorithm kept producing errors that would make the application useless in real-world scenarios. Self-doubt crept in around month 4. Maybe this was impossible. Maybe the corporate job wasn't so bad. Maybe my parents were right. Then came the breakthrough, not in the code, but in my life. At a local tech meetup I attended mostly for the free pizza, I met Taylor Wilson, tall, confident, with an MBA from Stanford and experience in venture capital. He listened intently as I described my struggling project. Instead of the usual glazed-over expression I got from most people, his eyes lit up. "This could disrupt the entire logistics industry," he said. "But you need help with the business side." Taylor became my business partner. His expertise complemented my technical skills perfectly. He handled investor pitches, business development, and marketing strategy, while I focused entirely on solving the technical challenges. Together, we secured a $50,000 investment from a local angel investor who had made his fortune in shipping. We moved operations from my apartment to a tiny office space in Pioneer Square, a glorified closet with unreliable internet and neighbors who complained about our late-night coding sessions. But it was ours, and it felt like progress. Then came the moment that changed everything. 3 months into our partnership at 2 in the morning, fueled by energy drinks and desperation, I solved the algorithm problem. Everyone said was impossible. The prediction model finally worked. Not just worked, it performed with 97% accuracy in our test scenarios. I called Taylor at that ungodly hour, barely coherent with excitement. We did it, I kept saying. We actually did it. Our application had a unique selling point no competitor could match, using artificial intelligence to predict supply chain disruptions before they happened. While other logistics software reacted to problems, ours prevented them from occurring in the first place. The potential savings for companies were enormous. The beta version gained attention on industry forums almost immediately. Logistics professionals started discussing features they wished existed, features we had already built. Then came a pivotal moment. An influential tech blogger featured our application in a review titled, "The Future of Logistics Has Arrived." User signups spiked overnight. A regional delivery company with 50 trucks became our first major client. I will never forget the feeling of watching our user dashboard that first day, seeing real vehicles moving according to our optimized routes, real deliveries completing faster than ever before. We expanded our team, hiring 3 employees who believed in the vision enough to accept below-market salaries in exchange for equity. Our success attracted attention, including from VentureTech, a major tech investment firm known for turning promising startups into billion-dollar companies. Their CEO, Alexander Hamilton, pursued us aggressively. The first meeting took place at their downtown Seattle office, 50 floors up, with views that made our tiny workspace look like the joke it was. "This is revolutionary technology," Alexander said after our demonstration. "We want to help you scale it globally." The presentations were impressive, the dinners lavish. Alexander talked about international expansion, enterprise clients, and valuations that made my head spin. Taylor was immediately sold. I was hesitant. We would be giving up significant control, I told Taylor, after a particularly extravagant dinner at a restaurant where the menu had no prices. "We would be gaining significant resources," he countered. "Think bigger, Joseph. This is how you change the world." After weeks of negotiation and internal debate, we accepted VentureTech's offer, $5 million for 30% equity. The celebration dinner felt like a coronation. Yet between champagne toasts and congratulations, I noticed something in Alexander that unsettled me. The way he talked about our application as if it already belonged to him. The way his eyes calculated value with every feature we described. I dismissed it as paranoia. This was our moment of triumph. Nothing could go wrong. The 18 months that followed were a whirlwind of growth and success. LogiConnect expanded beyond North America into European and Asian markets. Our user base multiplied exponentially as word spread about the application that was revolutionizing logistics operations. We moved from our tiny office to a luxurious space in downtown Seattle, complete with standing desks, meditation rooms, and a fully stocked kitchen. Our team grew from 3 employees to 50. Developers, data scientists, customer success managers, marketers. I took great pride in building a company culture that valued innovation and supported risk-taking. We had weekly hackathons where team members could work on passion projects. We celebrated failures as learning opportunities. It felt like family. I became the face of the company, speaking at tech conferences across the country, standing on stages in San Francisco, New York, and Chicago, explaining how our technology was transforming an industry. I finally felt the purpose that had eluded me in my corporate job. When monthly revenue hit the $1 million mark, we threw a party that lasted until sunrise. Trade magazines called it the logistics revolution. Competitors scrambled to catch up, but our algorithms gave us a 2-year advantage. My personal life improved alongside the company's fortunes. I moved from my cramped apartment to a modern loft overlooking Elliott Bay. When I walked into tech events, people recognized me, wanted to talk to me. I was no longer the awkward coder, but a successful founder. I even found something I never expected, a relationship with Sarah Daniels, the brilliant UX designer we hired to refine our interface. She understood my passion for the product, my occasional need to work until dawn when inspiration struck. She appreciated the vision behind LogiConnect in a way few others did. For the first time, my life felt completely aligned. Professional success, personal happiness, and the knowledge that our product was genuinely making the world more efficient. Then came the first signs of trouble. Alexander began bringing in executives from his previous ventures. A new COO, a marketing director, a sales leader. All arrived wearing expensive suits and carrying presentations about optimizing revenue streams. The original team members referred to them as the suits at first jokingly, then with genuine resentment. Gradual changes to the application prioritized profit over user experience. Features that customers loved but didn't directly generate revenue were deprioritized. New premium tiers restricted functionality that had previously been available to all users. The weekly hackathons were replaced by strategic alignment sessions. In board meetings, my input was increasingly ignored. When I raised concerns about changes compromising the core user experience, Alexander would nod sympathetically before proceeding exactly as planned. The market demands monetization became his favorite phrase. The new CFO, Martin Blackwood, constantly questioned my development decisions. Do we need this many engineers? Can we outsource this component? What is the direct revenue impact of this feature? The questions always focused on cost cutting, never on quality or innovation. I began overhearing conversations about maximizing shareholder value and exit strategies, corporate speak that translated to, how quickly can we sell this company for a profit? This was never my vision for LogiConnect. I built it to solve real problems, not to become another tech acquisition statistic. More troubling was Taylor's gradual transformation. My once enthusiastic partner spent more time with the venture tech executives than with the development team. He adopted their language, their priorities, even their fashion sense. During one heated argument about product direction, he told me, "You need to think like a businessman, not a programmer." The comment stung because it revealed how he had always seen me, as just the technical guy, not a true founder. I began documenting everything: emails, meeting notes, product changes that went against my recommendations. I backed up the original code base and kept detailed records of all modifications. Something felt wrong, and my instincts told me to prepare. Late nights alone in the office became my new routine. While the rest of the team went home to their lives, I stayed behind working on something only I knew existed. Deep within the codebase of LogiConnect, I built a hidden feature, a master backdoor that could temporarily freeze the application's functionality across all deployments. A kill switch. The technical implementation was complex. I created encrypted authentication protocols that only I could access, hiding the mechanism so thoroughly that even our senior developers would never find it during code reviews. I disguised critical components as standard error handling routines and distributed the functionality across multiple systems to avoid detection. Testing it required extreme caution. I set up a private server environment that mirrored our production system and confirmed that the switch worked perfectly. One command could halt the entire operation within seconds. Another command would restore everything just as quickly. The moral implications troubled me. Was I sabotaging my own creation? Was this corporate paranoia or justified protection? I rationalized it as insurance, a last resort if everything went wrong. I never intended to use it. It simply existed as leverage, a way to protect what I had built from potential abuse. My fears materialized faster than expected. 6 months after bringing in the suits, Alexander called a special board meeting. The conference room felt unusually tense. Extra chairs had been added for people I had never met. Representatives from Megacorp, a notorious tech giant, known for acquiring innovative startups, stripping them for intellectual property and discarding the remains. Alexander stood at the head of the table, digital presentation ready. Today marks an exciting new chapter for LogiConnect. He began, his smile not reaching his eyes. We have an opportunity to take the company to the next level through a strategic acquisition. The presentation outlined the sale of LogiConnect to Megacorp for $300 million. The deal would dissolve our company structure, integrate our technology into Megacorp's existing portfolio, and streamline operations. Corporate speak for mass layoffs. This is not why we built LogiConnect, I argued, struggling to keep my voice steady. Our mission was to revolutionize logistics, not become another Megacorp acquisition. Alexander's expression remained pleasant but cold. Joseph, I understand your emotional attachment to the product. That is natural for a developer. But this represents an extraordinary return on investment for all shareholders. I looked at Taylor, expecting support. Instead, I saw avoidance. He studied his notebook, refusing to meet my eyes. The Megacorp representative spoke next. We have tremendous respect for what you have built. We intend to leverage the core technology across our entire ecosystem. You mean strip it for parts, I replied. The tension in the room thickened. Alexander cleared his throat. I think we should proceed to the vote. Taylor, I said, you cannot seriously support this. Finally, he looked up. I have been working with Alexander on this acquisition for 3 months. The terms are excellent, Joseph. You should be celebrating. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. 3 months. While I was perfecting our product, my partner had been negotiating its demise. While I spoke at conferences about our vision for the future, Taylor had been planning to sell that future to the highest bidder. I gave an impassioned speech about our original vision, about the promises we made to our team and users. I reminded them of the impact we were making, the industry we were transforming. My words fell on indifferent ears. The vote proceeded. I was outvoted 8-1. As the meeting concluded, Alexander placed his hand on my shoulder. The transition team will need your cooperation over the coming weeks. We value your technical expertise. I shrugged off his hand and returned to my office, shell-shocked and betrayed. 2 security guards followed at a discreet distance. The digital display in our office lobby flashed a milestone celebration. $200, 0 inches. Revenue cheers erupted from the gathering of employees and executives. I watched from my glass-walled office as champagne bottles popped and congratulatory speeches began. Nobody acknowledged that the man who created the technology was not part of the celebration. My phone buzzed with a message from Alexander, my office. Now, I made my way through the celebration, receiving confused glances from employees wondering why I was not at the center of this moment. Alexander's corner office overlooked the Seattle skyline, the Space Needle visible on clear days like this one. 2 men in suits I did not recognize stood beside his desk. Joseph Alexander began not offering me a seat. The acquisition is progressing ahead of schedule. Megacorp has their transition team ready to integrate the technology. I remained silent. Your services are no longer required, effective immediately. Despite expecting this, the words still landed like a punch. 5 years of my life dismissed in a single sentence. We have prepared a severance agreement. He slid a thick document across his desk. It includes a comprehensive non-disclosure clause and non-compete provisions. The compensation is generous. I glanced at the figure. $300,000. For technology generating $200 million in revenue. For years of 80-hour weeks. For my life's work. You should also be aware that the new capital structure will significantly dilute your remaining shares. Alexander continued his tone, suggesting this was a minor detail. You are firing me on the day my application reaches $200 million in revenue. I said, my voice surprisingly calm. Business decision, nothing personal. The security team will escort you to collect your personal items. I looked out his window at the city I loved, then back at the man who had orchestrated my removal. You have no idea what you have just done. The security guards waited outside his office. They followed me to my workspace, watching as I placed personal items into a cardboard box. Family photos, programming books, the small robot figurine that had been on my desk since college. My team members watched in shocked silence. Nobody had told them what was happening. Sarah approached, confusion in her eyes. Joseph, what is going on? Before I could answer, one of the guards stepped between us. Mr. Bennett cannot discuss company matters at this time. The humiliation of that walk, through the development area past the customer service team across the lobby with its celebratory display, burned into my memory. Employees who had followed my leadership, who had believed in my vision, watched in stunned silence as I was escorted out like a criminal. At the glass doors that led to the street, I turned for one last look. 5 years of work. My creation. My team. I committed the image to memory, then walked into the bright Seattle afternoon, unemployed and betrayed, but carrying a secret that gave me more power than Alexander could imagine. The week that followed was the darkest of my life. I isolated in my apartment, ignoring calls from friends and former colleagues. I watched business news channels report on the exciting acquisition of LogiConnect by Megacorp with no mention of the founder who built the technology. The press release quoted Taylor extensively, crediting him with innovations that came from my sleepless nights. My name disappeared from the company website overnight. The Our Story page was rewritten to minimize my role, describing me merely as an early developer. Awards I had received were attributed to the LogiConnect team. Depression and self-doubt consumed me. Had I been naive? Was this always the inevitable end for any successful startup? Had I failed by not seeing the betrayal coming? On the 8th day of my self-imposed exile, someone knocked on my door. Sarah stood in the hallway, concerned and determined. "You look terrible," she said, pushing past me into the apartment. "Thanks. Great to see you too." She surveyed the chaos of my living space. Takeout containers, unwashed clothes, empty bottles. "This is not you, Joseph. This is not the person who built LogiConnect. Sarah had quit the day after my firing. The company culture died when they escorted you out," she explained. "It is toxic now. They are pushing out anyone from the original team." She showed me internal communications on her phone. Messages from developers complaining about Megacorp's technical decisions, customer service reports documenting rising user complaints, statistics showing declining app performance. "They are gutting everything that made the application special," she said. "Removing features, cutting corners on the algorithm updates, ignoring user feedback." Something shifted inside me. The fog of depression began to clear, replaced by resolution. I will not let them destroy what we built. That afternoon, I showered, shaved, and contacted Patricia Alvarez, an attorney specializing in technology, intellectual property. She reviewed my contracts, employment agreements, and the severance package I had not signed. "They made mistakes," Patricia said, pointing to clauses in my original agreement. "Your equity provisions have protective covenants they violated, and their non-compete is overly broad, likely unenforceable in Washington state." I began gathering evidence. Sarah provided internal documents showing how Alexander and Taylor had planned my removal months in advance. Former colleagues sent screenshots of technical decisions that violated our original agreements. I created a comprehensive timeline documenting the systematic betrayal. I reached out to Eric Morrison, a journalist at Tech Insider who had covered LogiConnect's rise. "I have a story about how venture tech and Megacorp stole a $200 million application from its founder," I told him. The article, published 3 weeks after my firing, LogiConnect founder alleges corporate theft and betrayal. It detailed how venture capital had corrupted the original mission of the company, how executives with no technical understanding were dismantling a revolutionary product for short-term profit. The company's stock dropped 12% the day the article appeared. Online tech forums exploded with discussions. Former and current employees confirmed my account. Number "Justice for Joseph" started trending in tech circles. Alexander called that evening, his voice alternating between threats and attempts at reconciliation. "This is not helping anyone, Joseph. You are damaging a company you still own shares in. Our legal team is preparing a defamation case against you." I listened silently until he finished. "Check your user metrics," I replied, then ended the call. The problems had already begun. User complaints were flooding in across all platforms. The latest update, pushed through without proper testing, contained critical flaws. The prediction algorithm, my algorithm, was failing because Megacorp developers did not understand its fundamental architecture. For 2 weeks, I watched as they struggled to fix mounting technical issues. I monitored user forums where logistics companies expressed growing frustration. Megacorp issued statement after statement promising improvements, while the application continued to deteriorate. Then, I faced my moment of truth. The kill switch remained untouched, a digital nuclear option. Would using it be justice or petty revenge? Was I protecting my creation or simply lashing out at those who had wronged me? I spent an entire night writing a detailed document explaining my actions and motivations. If I was going to do this, I wanted a clear record of why. This was not about money or vengeance. It was about protecting the integrity of what I had created, about standing up to corporate raiders who took without creating, who destroyed value rather than building it. At 6 in the morning, decision made, I opened my laptop and entered a series of authentication codes. The interface was simple, a command line prompt asking for confirmation. I typed execute, and pressed enter. Across the globe, in thousands of delivery vehicles, logistics, offices, and distribution centers, LogiConnect froze simultaneously. The application did not crash. That would allow for standard recovery procedures. Instead, it entered a controlled hibernation state that appeared functional but processed no actual data. Every attempt to restart or reset failed. The corporate chaos was immediate and complete. Megacorp's technical teams worked frantically, unable to locate the source of the problem. They tried rolling back to previous versions, switching servers, even rebuilding portions of the code. Nothing worked because the kill switch operated at a fundamental level of the architecture that only I fully understood. The economic impact multiplied hourly. Shipping companies reported delays. Retailers could not track inventory. Supply chains faltered. Megacorp's stock plummeted 20% in a single trading session. My phone began ringing constantly. Megacorp executives, venture tech partners, business reporters. I answered none of them. Instead, I sent a single email to Alexander Taylor and the Megacorp CEO. The board of directors has exactly 24 hours to contact me for resolution terms. The emergency board meeting convened at a neutral location, a conference room at Patricia's law office. I arrived early, calm and prepared. When the executives entered, their faces showed a mixture of anger, fear, and bewilderment. Alexander avoided eye contact. Taylor looked physically ill. The Megacorp CEO spoke first. "This is corporate sabotage. We will pursue criminal charges." Patricia intervened smoothly. "Before making threats, I suggest you review the documents we have provided. My client has extensive evidence of contract violations, intellectual property theft, and corporate malfeasance. Additionally, the technical issue affecting LogiConnect has not been definitively linked to any action by my client. My terms were straightforward, fair compensation, reflecting my contribution to a $200 million application, public recognition of my role as founder and primary inventor, and binding commitments to maintain the ethical principles that guided the original development." "This is extortion," Alexander said. "This is negotiation," I corrected. "I also have additional evidence regarding your personal involvement in securities violations that would interest the SEC." The room fell silent. The Megacorp legal team whispered urgently to their CEO. Alexander stared at his folded hands. The negotiation lasted 14 hours. Lawyers drafted and redrafted agreements. Accountants calculated values and percentages. As dawn broke over Seattle, we reached terms that acknowledged my contributions and provided compensation reflecting the true value of what I had built. I returned to my apartment, opened my laptop, and entered the restoration code. Across the world, LogiConnect resumed normal operations as if nothing had happened. 1 year later, I stood in the much smaller but infinitely more satisfying office of Ethical Tech Solutions, the company I founded with my settlement money. Our team of 15 included several former LogiConnect employees who shared my vision of technology that served people rather than exploiting them. Sarah joined as co-founder and UX director. Our relationship had deepened through the crisis, bonded by shared values and a commitment to building something meaningful. Our first product, a supply chain transparency application helping small businesses compete with corporate giants, was gaining traction with users who appreciated our ethical approach. Our company charter contained explicit protections against the kind of corporate takeover I had experienced. Majority ownership remained with the founding team. Employees received genuine equity stakes. We turned down venture capital firms in favor of slower growth funded by actual revenue. Most surprisingly, clients who had used LogiConnect sought us out despite our smaller size and more focused product. "We trust your team," they told us. "We know you build with integrity." The industry noticed our stand against corporate raiders. Tech conferences invited me to speak not just about innovation, but about ethics in business. Young developers asked for mentorship, wanting to learn how to protect their creations. The experience transformed me in ways I never expected. The betrayal burned away any remaining naivety about business. The fight taught me the power of standing up for principles. The rebuilding showed me that success can come without compromising values. I learned to recognize true allies versus fair-weather business partners. I gained a deeper appreciation for success measured by impact rather than just profit. Most importantly, I understood the sacred relationship between creators and their creations, the responsibility to protect something you bring into the world. LogiConnect continues to operate under Megacorp ownership. The application is less innovative now, focused more on extracting maximum revenue than solving real problems. Taylor became a venture capitalist, though I heard firms are reluctant to partner with him after our story became public. Alexander received a generous exit package from Megacorp when they restructured the executive team following what they called technical difficulties. As for me, I found something better than revenge. I found purpose-renewed principles, affirmed in the satisfaction of building technology that helps rather than exploits. The journey from idealistic coder to betrayed founder to ethical entrepreneur taught me that success is not what happens when everything goes right. Success is what you build after everything goes wrong. Have you ever had to stand up for something you created or believed in? Would you have used the kill switch if you were in my position? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about the real side of tech entrepreneurship. And if you know someone facing similar challenges, share this video with them. Sometimes knowing others have fought similar battles gives us the courage to face our own. Thank you for listening, and remember, the code you write creates the future you live in.